it's not a good look when the director of the Marvels is coming out and basically making excuses for why the movie isn't going to succeed. I mean, she's basically been saying in these headlines recently that she thinks the strikes are going to hurt the performance of the movie because the actors aren't going to be promoting it, which I think is a pretty lame excuse because no one really watches a movie based off of the actors promoting it. But whatever. I mean, that's what she's saying. And at least I'll give her credit for not saying it's because of racism, sexism, or that whole excuse that people are tired of. But when a movie studio is confident in their product that they're producing, whether it's a movie or a TV show, then they will renew it prior to its release because they know it's going to do good, and they probably only pull the plug on it if it just completely missed the mark. But when it comes to this story right now, the interesting thing is you got Miss Marvel directors coming out recently and saying that they're waiting to, or at least Disney is waiting to see whether the Marvel succeeds before they renew Miss Marvel for another season. Now, this is obviously a little bit of a different case, but it's similar to what I was saying because this is a spinoff of the Marvels. So if they thought the Marvels was just going to be a huge hit like Captain Marvel, the first one made over $1 billion. So I think if the Marvels was, or at least they're projecting it to be somewhere along that line, then they would say like, yeah, we're going to need more Miss Marvel. So we're going to have another season of her and bring in like probably Captain Marvel onto the show or something like that. I mean, just they're going to do stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is they're not expecting much of it. So they're taking a cautious wait and see approach, and cautious doesn't speak confidence or whatever. But this is kind of going in line with what their new business model is, at least according to what Bob Iger has been saying. But I'll get more on that. Some of the reasons people would say like, oh, well, this isn't renewed automatically because it's a TV show. That was their standalone show. The Marvels is a little bit different. And when you look at the numbers, the actual viewership for Miss Marvel was pretty bad. I mean, it was only, 780,000 people watched it. And this was in the first 5 days of its premiere episode, on which puts it as the lowest rated MCU show on the Disney Plus platform. So not necessarily a good sign. And even then, they still tried to cross promote it by putting it onto ABC Network, and it didn't do too well on that as well. I mean, scrolling down, this was also to help try to promote the Marvels because a lot of people didn't know who Miss Marvel was. So they wanted to kind of get it out there to the general public so people can actually see who this character is. So this is what it's talking about with the way they actually aired this onto ABC. So ABC aired the first 3 episodes of Miss Marvel on August 5th and the final 3 episodes on August 12th from 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Per the viewer numbers below, we see there was a huge dip from the first episode to the 3rd episode airing, which means viewers turned off Miss Marvel and watched something else or had something better to do. I will say this though, I mean, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's kind of late for a lot of people, but maybe they could have pushed it a couple hours, but whatever. That just doesn't seem like a desirable time slot to me. On the first night, August 5th, Miss Marvel lost 118,000 viewers. The good news for the second airing is that 910,000 viewers tuned in to watch episode 4. However, by the end of the night, Miss Marvel had lost nearly 300,000 viewers. To me, this kind of strikes me as people just kind of turning it on just to see who Miss Marvel is. They're like, okay, I know who this character is, and then that's it. And maybe they're just trying to get a little recap on her before watching the Marvels or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, that's just pure speculation on my account. But by all accounts, though, if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, the viewers or people who actually watched Miss Marvel were generally favorable. I mean, at least that's a decent score, I would say. Maybe not for a Marvel property, but that's okay. I mean, of course, that's assuming that you can actually believe what Rotten Tomatoes is reporting. I mean, I have my doubts on that. I mean, you could even go over to Metacritic too to see what the user score for that is, which it's significantly lower on Metacritic. But let's assume Rotten Tomatoes is the more accurate measurement here. And 80% of the people who watch, or has an 80% score amongst audiences. Okay, well, the fact of the matter is not enough people actually watched it, because hear me out for a second. Let's say there's a comic book that maybe only a dozen people read, but they absolutely love it. Is it going to make sense to actually give it $100 million and give it a TV show? Well, no. I mean, they could, if you did that, I mean, you might see similar scores where you just see like, yeah, the people who actually bother watching it really love it, but not enough people watch it. So they can't justify the cost that it will actually make to produce it. So they're not going to continue with it because I mean, despite the fact that it actually has a good score. And I'm thinking that might be a similar case with this. And this kind of goes in line with what Bob Iger has been saying with the Disney Plus platform. I mean, scrolling down to the article from Bounding into Comics, it does talk about that. So speaking to just how the company would begin to end its ongoing streak of box office disappointments during its February 8th, 2023 Q1 earnings call, Disney CEO Bob Iger explained, "We're going to lean more into our franchises, our core franchises, and our brands. I talked about curation in general entertainment. We have to be better at curating the Disney and the Pixar and the Marvel and the Star Wars of it all." He goes on, "And of course, reduce costs on everything that we make." We further detailed, while we are extremely proud of what's on the screen, it's gotten to the point where it's extraordinarily expensive. We want all the quality. We want all the quality on the screen, but we have to look at what they cost us. And I think that's what we ultimately saw with Miss Marvel, because maybe there were people who watched the show and it was generally favorable. They thought it was okay. The fact of the matter is it wasn't enough people to justify the cost of the show. And I think that's also why they're taking this whole wait and see approach to this, because if Miss Marvel, or not Miss Marvel, if the Marvels does well, then they will probably renew this for another season, because it's a way of milking it further. But at the same time, they have to see like how well it does. Because I mean, if it's just like a moderate success, then maybe they could justify like, okay, well, people like this character, especially if reviewers are saying that they like the character, then maybe they could be like, okay, we can renew it for another season, but maybe just not at the same cost that we did with the first season. But of course, that also has the risk of potentially alienating the original audience for the first season, because you might notice a drop in quality, or maybe they just have to get better at making the dollar stretch further. Because one of the problems with Marvel movies in general is they don't necessarily plan stuff. I've made videos talking about that in the past, where they like to change things on the fly, and basically they'll do effects and be like, oh wait, no, we want to change it. We're doing a different sequence for that. So then they have to spend a lot more money to do a lot more visual effects and stuff like that. So if they plan things out, they can make their money go further on in their products. And maybe that's something that they'll have to do. I mean, I think they should just do that in general. But with this show, though, I don't expect that there's actually going to be another season, because like I said, when the director is basically making excuses, the studio doesn't appear to have any faith in the product with not only the movie, but with the spin-off shows to it, I think we can all assume it's going to be dead in the water. But I don't know, I mean, I could be completely wrong about this, but let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And if you like this video, make sure you click the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest news. Thank you.